Today, we're diving deep into the world of Australia and New Zealand's most mysterious and ultra-rare 50-cent coins that could be sitting in your drawer, waiting to change your life forever. Some of these incredible finds have shocked collectors around the globe, with values soaring into the hundreds of thousands and even higher. Imagine holding a simple 50-cent piece that turns out to be worth more than a luxury house. Unbelievable, right? Well, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, and trust me, you don't want to miss a single detail. And if you love discovering rare treasures that could be hiding in plain sight, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss out on the next big find. Now, let's begin with one coin that might look ordinary to most people, but to collectors, it can be a jaw-dropping discovery: the 1971 Australian 50-cent coin. At first glance, it's just a large, heavy piece of silver-colored metal, hexagonal in shape, and maybe you've even tossed one like this aside thinking it's just spare change. But here's the shocker: this coin, even in fine circulated condition, can carry value that leaves people speechless. Why? Because the 1971 50 cent has more than just face value. It carries history, rarity, and design uniqueness that drives collectors wild. Back in 1971, Australia had already transitioned from the earlier round 50-cent coins made of 80% silver, which were minted only in 1966. Those silver pieces quickly vanished from circulation because the silver value was greater than the coin's worth. By the time 1971 came around, the Royal Australian Mint had settled on the dodecagon, the 12-sided shape that we still recognize today. It was designed to prevent confusion with the smaller 20-cent piece, and that odd shape became an iconic part of Australian currency. Now, the 1971 issue wasn't produced in massive numbers compared to some later years, and because these coins circulated heavily, finding one today in crisp and circulated or proof-like condition is surprisingly rare. The obverse of the coin shows Queen Elizabeth II, her youthful portrait facing right, designed by Arnold Machen. The reverse, that bold Australian coat of arms supporters, kangaroo and emu, the shield with 6 state symbols, a truly powerful national emblem. But here's what gets collectors talking: subtle variations and striking errors that sometimes appear on these 1971 issues. For example, off-center strikes, die cracks, and planchet flaws can catapult an otherwise ordinary coin into the stratosphere of value. Imagine spotting one with a double rim or a misaligned die strike. What you're really holding, then, is a rare mint blunder worth thousands. In fine circulated condition, a 1971 50 cent might bring in $20 to $50 to the right buyer, which is already impressive for something worth just half a dollar. But when we climb into higher grades, the numbers explode. An uncirculated 1971 piece can range from $500 to $1,200 depending on the luster and strike sharpness. But hold on, because here's where it gets shocking: rare error examples have reached unbelievable figures. Some documented cases have been valued at $75,000, and in certain private auctions, unique errors have been whispered about in the collector community, with 6-figure estimates up to a staggering $450,000 for a once-in-a-lifetime specimen. That's right, nearly $500,000 for a single 50-cent coin from 1971. Now imagine this: you're sorting through an old box of coins your parents or grandparents left behind. You find a large, 12-sided piece, worn, but still recognizable. Most people wouldn't give it a second glance, but you know better. That single coin could be a missing piece for a high-end collector, someone willing to pay a small fortune just to secure it. The thrill of discovering something so ordinary, yet so extraordinary, what keeps coin enthusiasts constantly checking, constantly hoping, constantly hunting. So here's the question: could one of these be hiding in your change jar, tucked away in a drawer, or forgotten in a coin album? The 1971 Australian 50 cent is proof that sometimes the rarest treasures don't come in gold or jewels, but in the pocket change we overlook every single day. And now, let's turn our attention to the last coin in this incredible lineup, the 1988 New Zealand 50-cent Endeavour. At first glance, it looks nearly identical to the earlier Endeavour coin we just covered. But don't let that fool you. This particular year hides secrets that collectors have been chasing for decades, and if you're lucky enough to stumble across one in just the right condition, you could be staring at a life-changing prize. The 1988 50 cent still carries the proud design we've come to love, the legendary ship Endeavour, forever tied to Captain James Cook's historic voyages, etched into the reverse with detail and power. On the obverse, once again, Queen Elizabeth II, in her regal portrait. But here's the twist. By 1988, the Royal New Zealand Mint was dealing with different minting pressures and lower demand for circulation coins. As a result, not all 1988 Endeavour coins were struck with equal quality. Many came out with weak strikes, faded details, or uneven rims. Because of this, coins that survived in sharp, crisp condition are much scarcer than most people realize. In fine circulated condition, a 1988 Endeavour might fetch around $20 to $40, not bad at all for something that originally cost only 50 cents. But here's where the magic happens. Move into higher grade territory, and the value begins to climb quickly. Uncirculated examples, still gleaming with full detail of the ship's sails, waves, and rigging, can easily command $1,000 to $2,500. And then we get to the truly shocking territory: rare mint errors and die varieties that make the 1988 issue so famous among specialists. There have been reports of double-struck Endeavour coins from 1988, where the image of the ship appears twice, slightly shifted, giving it an eerie ghost-like look. Others have been found with clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin's edge is missing, or broad strikes, where the design spreads unnaturally wide. These mistakes, instead of being worthless, can turn an ordinary coin into a jaw-dropping windfall. Some of these rare error coins have sold in the $25,000 to $50,000 range. But wait, there's more. A select few examples with dramatic double strike errors and proof-like surfaces have been privately valued by collectors at well over $600,000. Yes, you heard that right, over $500,000 for a coin minted in 1988. It sounds unreal, doesn't it? Imagine you're flipping through a collection inherited from a family member. You spot a familiar 50-cent piece. Maybe a little worn, maybe a little dull. You almost toss it aside, but then, you notice something: an odd strike, a rim that doesn't look quite right, or detail that seems unusual. Suddenly, your heart races. Could this be one of those once-in-a-lifetime rarities that collectors fight tooth and nail to own? That moment of suspense, the possibility that you've uncovered a hidden treasure, is what makes the 1988 Endeavour coin one of the most thrilling finds in modern numismatics. And here's the most exciting part: it's not impossible. These coins are still out there, tucked away in drawers, passed down in boxes, or even mixed into foreign coin jars at estate sales. Every day, ordinary people stumble across extraordinary treasures, and the 1988 Endeavour 50 cent is one of those coins. That proves lightning can strike when you least expect it. Now, rewind a bit to 1979, and here we find another gem hiding in plain sight: the New Zealand 50 cent Endeavour. At first glance, it's the same bold, 12-sided coin we've seen before, with the legendary sailing ship Endeavour on the reverse and Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse. But here's the secret: the 1979 issue carries surprises that many collectors have overlooked, and in the right condition, it can deliver jaw-dropping value. By 1979, the Endeavour design had already been circulating for over a decade, since New Zealand first introduced decimal currency in 1967. People had grown familiar with this coin, and millions passed from hand to hand in everyday transactions. But here's the catch: coins from 1979 were struck in unusually high numbers, and because they circulated heavily, most survivors today are badly worn. That makes finding a 1979 Endeavour in fine or better condition something far rarer than you might imagine. And in the collector world, rarity equals value. In average circulation, A 1979 50-cent piece might bring only a few dollars, maybe $5 to $15, depending on the condition. But let's turn up the heat. When you find one in higher grade, sharper details on the Queen's portrait, clear lines in the ship's sails, crisp edges on that distinctive 12-sided rim, the value can explode into the hundreds. Uncirculated examples have sold in the $1,000 to $2,000 range, and the thrill of uncovering one of those is enough to keep collectors constantly searching. But here's where things get shocking. Mint errors from 1979 are considered some of the most dramatic in New Zealand's decimal coinage. Known examples include coins struck off-center, where the Endeavour appears sailing dangerously close to the rim, or broadstrike errors, where the coin expands beyond its normal shape. There have even been rumors in the collector community of double die-obverse coins from this year, where the Queen's features appear ghosted or double. Each of these quirks takes a humble 50-cent piece and rockets its value sky high. Documented sales of error-struck 1979 Endeavours have fetched $25,000, $40,000, and in a few rare cases, whispered private sales have exceeded $500,000. That's right, $500,000 for a coin many people still think of as just pocket change. And it gets even more exciting when you think about how easy it is to miss. Imagine rummaging through a dusty old tin of coins, the kind your parents or grandparents may have stashed away after a trip to New Zealand. You see a familiar silver-colored, 12-sided piece. It's dated 1979, maybe a little worn, but still showing that proud sailing ship. Most people would shrug and toss it aside. But what if you look closer? What if that ordinary coin is actually a rare error strike, or a preserved uncirculated example hiding in the shadows of time? That's the moment where your breath catches, your pulse quickens, and you realize you might just be holding a fortune in your hand. The 1979 New Zealand 50-cent Endeavour is more than just currency. It's a bridge to history, a piece of national pride, and for a lucky few, a ticket to unimaginable value. Could your collection be hiding one of these overlooked treasures? That's the thrill of coin collecting. You never know when the ordinary becomes extraordinary.